Here are the settings you need to know to shoot photos and videos with any camera. Starting with shutter speed. So this is your camera's shutter. When it's open, the sensor is capturing the image and also bringing light in. And when it's closed, it's done taking that photo. And if you're more focused on video, don't worry, all of this still applies. There's just one minor tweak at the end. So if you have a fast shutter speed, say 1/2500, it's gonna look like that and be pretty dark. And if you have a really slow shutter speed, say 1 second, it's going to look like that and be pretty bright. But that's not the only reason you're gonna change your shutter speed. You see, if you're shooting, say, action sports, you really wanna freeze that motion because it's moving really fast. And you're gonna need a fast shutter speed so that everything is nice and tack sharp. But maybe you're shooting a landscape on a tripod late at night, then you're gonna want a slow shutter speed to allow as much light in as possible. And slow shutter speeds are also used to get light trails or to make waterfalls look creamy or to get, say, astrophotography shots. But most of us are gonna live in this middle range here. That means not too much motion is going on. Maybe you're posing with a model, but you're still handheld and you don't want your hand shaking to make it all blurry. You'll stick somewhere in this middle range. Now this does change for video a little bit, but in short, you're gonna take your frames per second, which we're gonna talk about in a little bit, and double it, and just keep it there. Next is gonna be your aperture. This is that number that comes after the F on your camera. So imagine this ring is your lens, and inside of that lens is an opening that can open and close. When it's open, that will be the lower number. So this is, say, f1.8, and it's bringing in a ton of light. And as you start to bring it down to, say, f16, you're bringing in a lot less light, resulting in a darker image. But once again, that's not all you use aperture for. Aperture affects what's in focus and what's not in focus. For example, if you're at f1.8 and bringing in a ton of light, your subject will be in focus, but the background and the foreground are going to be blurry. We call that a shallow depth of field. If you go all the way to f16, it's going to be quite dark, but your subject, background, and foreground are going to be more in focus. Just choked on my own spit, sorry. For example, right now I'm shooting at f4.5. The background is a little blurry, not just a total blur, but I'm nicely and fully in focus. If I bring my hand closer to the lens and the background gets further away from the focus point, it gets a little bit blurrier.
Okay, editor Connor here. Now, if you're using, say, like a smaller camera, like an action camera or your iPhone or a drone, you're not going to see an option to change the aperture. It's fixed, usually around like f2.8. It's because the lenses are too small. And this is why Apple came up with that weird portrait mode that doesn't really ever look great. So yeah, it's going to be using shutter speed and the next thing we talk about to change the exposure. Okay, back to it, but I'll probably see you again real soon.
Next, ISO. So I have an acronym for ISO and it stands for in search of, which means you're in search of more light. You've got your shutter speed where you want it, you've got your aperture where you want it, and you still need more light. That's when you go to ISO. It's kind of the last resort to try to get a nicely exposed shot. And here's why you want to keep it as low as possible, because it will be a clean shot. You won't see a bunch of weird things going on in the shadows. And if you have to raise it to, say, 12,800, it's going to get pretty noisy, especially in the shadows, and it just doesn't look great. But when you got to use it, you got to use it. So those are the three aspects of the exposure triangle, because they all affect how bright your shot is going to be. But now you know with shutter and aperture that there's other reasons to change them, not just on making your image brighter or darker.
Hey, miss me? If you're using your phone and you're trying to access custom settings like your shutter speed and ISO, you will have to download a third-party app. For photography, I recommend this one, and it does cost like $2. I'm not sponsored by them at all. But for video, I definitely recommend this one, the Blackmagic Cam. It's incredible and it's totally and completely free. And if you edit on DaVinci Resolve, then you can upload it straight to it, and it's just an incredible app. Full controls of your whole entire camera, and then you can even change what we're going to talk about next, which is pretty crucial. Okay, sorry. Yeah, back to it.
Next, white balance. White balance is essentially making sure the things in your scene that should be white are white. And it uses something called the Kelvin scale, but on your camera, you'll just see a number followed by the letter K. If you're filming in a bright, sunny day, you'll want it around 5600 Kelvin. With clouds, you'll want it near 6500, and say you're using a light bulb like the one behind me, you want that to be closer to 3200 Kelvin. And right now I'm using the light from outside as my key light, which is why this is set at 5600, because that's sunlight. And now for videos, your camera's going to give you frame rate options, 24, which is more of your movie kind of cinematic frame rate, 30, which is your kind of vloggy sports or broadcast TV, and then 60 and above, you're starting to dive into the slow-mo realm. And some cameras go up to 1,000 frames per second or higher, but they can cost a lot of money. Oh, do I want one so bad. Here's how it works. Let's say my final video is going to be 24 frames per second. If I film something at 24 frames per second and play it back at 100% speed, there's a frame for every frame on the timeline. Once I start to stretch that out, you're going to start to see gaps. That's why you see slow motion videos that look like this. It's missing frames, so it kind of has to jump. But if you look down here at 120, there are plenty of frames even in between them to line up so you can really slow it down and get that super slow-mo. Now, if you're thinking, why don't I just always film at 120 and I can either play it at 100% or slow it down? Well, that goes back to the whole motion blur. If you're playing it at 24 frames per second and it was shot at 120 frames per second, that means your shutter speed was pretty high. And there's going to be like no motion blur. It's going to look weird to the eye because our eyes are used to seeing motion blur with movement. Now, what if there's a part of your video that you don't want to be slow-mo and the other part you do want to be slow-mo? Say someone talking and then doing something that you want to slow-mo. I would go with 60 frames per second because it's not going to look too weird playing back at 100%, and you still have the option to slow it down to about 50%. Now, there's a ton more to getting great looking shots than just your camera settings, and these were just the basic camera settings. You also need to know composition, lighting. We didn't talk about shooting in log, and when it's time to break these rules. And if you need a cheat sheet that goes a little bit more in depth, and I also made a lock screen for your phone when you're out and about and shooting and need quick tips, that's going to be in my members area where I'm going to start doing more lives, some behind the scenes, and posting more and more cheat sheets like this one, and also building a rad community of people who like playing with cameras and messing with tech.
Hi. Okay, last time, I promise. So what if you make a mistake during all of this? I also teach editing, and I can teach you how to slow-mo something if you didn't film it in the right frame rate. I can teach you how to color log footage and how to just make the editing process like 1,000 times easier. I'm also going to be talking about gear that I love, gear that I hate, and just the creative process in general. So subscribe if you're into that. And now I'll say bye, and I'll let YouTuber Connor finish this out. Okay, here we go.
All right, so grab your camera, go out, have some fun, and experiment. But if you can't do that right now, maybe check out one of these videos. And until next time, toodles. Okay, if you made it this far in the video, you're a real OG, you're loyal, and you really do want to learn. And I love you and appreciate you for that. So comment down below your favorite band. I need some more music to listen to. Comment your favorite band down below. All right, toodles.